Bum 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 bum. Welcome, good morning, and we've got a live show for you today. Yes, it's breaking news. Oh, it's huge news, and we thought we'll bring it to you live. Yes, of course we're going to have to bring it to you live because it's big news. It's big news, and it concerns Man United and the possible takeover at United. Could United be on the verge of being sold to a mystery investor? Is that the big news that we're discussing today? It could be. It could be something that we discuss in the next day or two. Or it could be something that's just been made up and it's just been a wild rumour that's been spread by one source in particular. And lots of people today are discussing whether this source could be trusted or can be trusted and whether he's got a track record of just pulling people's legs, just winding people up and sending them in the completely wrong direction. Now, welcome to the show firstly. Welcome, good morning. This is the Man United stream and we are bringing you breaking news on a day that we thought there won't be much news. I mean, look, with Man United, there's one thing for certain. No matter what it is, whether it's an international break or whatever's going on, United always are big news. But not only that, there's always constant news coming out of Man United. And yesterday, in the evening, I was looking through the content of what we'll be doing in today's show, and it was all to do with, of course, Jim Ratcliffe and his interview to the Times newspaper, I think it was, and what he said about Ruben Amorim. Then we got some more breaking news about the director of football that United have appointed, and we were going to discuss that in today's show as well, and how important it is, and where this guy's from, and if he's going to be any good for United. And then suddenly, overnight, last night, we got a huge bombshell of news. My phone started going mad, and I was thinking, what's going on? Why are people texting me? Why am I getting messages? And then suddenly, I checked my phone, and it's all to do with this Saudi guy. This Saudi guy, who many of you might not have heard of. If you don't watch boxing or you're not into boxing, you might not have heard of this guy. But in boxing, he is a big thing. He is the man. He is the all-knowing, the all-wise Sheikh Al-Turki. And he currently is the one who's running all the boxing events out in Saudi Arabia. And he's the right-hand man for the leader, MBS, or I can't remember his full name now. But anyway, he's the Saudi leader. And obviously, Saudi Arabia are looking to invest lots of money into sports and have more sport events taking place in Saudi. And they targeted boxing as one of those sports, and over the last couple of years they have literally taken over the boxing world. I mean, everywhere you go, this guy Sheikh Al-Turki's there, front row seats, watching every boxing event you can, every boxing match you can think of. He's there, all the big ones, he's there, and he is a big investor, and he's been paying millions of pounds, not just to the boxers, but the promoting stables as well, who've been going out there, taking their boxers out there in Saudi Arabia, and he's really attracted the world's attention to the way he's dealt with. He's put boxing on the map again. I mean, he's made it a global event, very glamorous, and there's lots of entrances and money being spent, and lots of footballers and other people involved in sport are attending these events, and it's a big thing. It's a big thing. And this guy has been instrumental in doing that for the Saudi Arabia as a country. But not only that, he's heading up the Saudi sport division. Now, everything that Saudi do in terms of sport, this guy deals with it. Now, you might have heard of him, you might not have heard of him, but either way, it makes no difference. Why I'm telling you all this is because we have to work out what this source is and when he's breaking this news about United, a possible takeover, you need to know exactly who he is and how important his message could be. His tweet it was, but how important that is, and whether we should put any weight to it, and whether we should give him any credit for it and say, is this genuine, or is this guy just simply some nobody who's just simply put out a message there and everyone's got carried away with it and started reporting it and putting it out there. But this morning, it's all over the media, and the reason why, sort of, maybe not the media, but social media, and the reason why is because he is regarded as a credible source. He is head of a £1 billion investment fund, or whatever you want to call it, and he is someone you have to take seriously when he says things and he gets them done. He in the boxing world, people will tell you when this guy turns up or rings you or does something and says, look, I'm going to put this event on in the middle of the desert, most people will be like, what's he on about? What kind of rubbish is that? Of course, that's impossible. But this guy will get it done. If he talks about matching two of the world's best boxers up and says, right, I want this boxer to fight with this boxer, and most people are like, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But this guy gets it done. And anyway, let's go straight into the tweet, because this dropped late last night. It was in Arabic, and then it was translated by a few people, and then it just went wild. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you guys can see. You guys can see what we're looking at. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's read this together. Sheikh Al-Turki, there he is. You've seen him on the thumbnail as well. So it says, the best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. And then he's got a few emojis there. Yeah, strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one. It's a strange one because, number one, okay, he mentions the fact that Manchester is good news. He's heard the best news. So either he's a Man United fan, which is possible. The other thing is that he's saying that Manchester United is now in advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. A new investor. Who could this be? This is straight after, or a few hours after, we heard the news from Jim Ratcliffe and him giving an interview about how he's going to allow Ruben Amorim 3 more years as the Man United manager to prove himself. So, Ruben Amorim's not going anywhere, but we'll come to that later on in the show. What we need to first discuss is this massive breaking news about a possible takeover. Could this be true? Yeah, it could be. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Saudi and the whole thing about Saudi investing in sports is not fake. It is genuine. They are going around looking at investment opportunities and buying out massive companies. And one of the biggest ones, last week I was reading something about how the Saudis bought EA Sports, the game manufacturer or producer. They make all sport games, including EA FC, the biggest football game out there. They've got the same with American football and NBA and things like that. So these guys, they went and bought EA Sports for around 50 plus billion pounds. 50 plus billion. I think it was around about 57, 58 billion pounds. I mean, when I read it, I had to double take on it and say, £billion, that's ridiculous. United is on its best day. The Glazers, the way they want it, the valuation is, they want United valued around about, what, 8 billion? 8 billion. So this is loose change for these guys. These guys could roll in the next day into town and say, right, okay, we'll drop a cool 8 billion pounds and take over United. And United is a very attractive proposition to any investor out there, anyone looking at United. You saw the numbers that we just got recently in our revenue. It is crazy. It's crazy. And of course, we'll be making money whether we are doing well on the pitch or not. That makes a big difference to lots of people. Lots of investors are looking at this thinking, this club is recession proof. It doesn't matter what's going on the pitch. It still gets money. It still makes revenue. There's still a fan base globally that adore this club. No matter what's going on the pitch, they will back it. They will still go out and watch the games, buy the t-shirts, do whatever it takes to support this club. So an investor like Sheikh Al Turki or the Saudis or whatever you want to call it, whoever it is, the sporting division, they're probably looking at United and thinking, yeah, we fancy a bit of this. 8 million pocket change, absolute nothing to them. If they've paid 50 plus billion pounds for, did I say a million? 8 billion, sorry. 50 something billion pounds they've paid for EA Sports, a gaming manufacturer. Of course, look, the EA is a massive industry. They make a lot of money. They make millions, billions of pounds each year. So that is in itself a great investment. But coming to United, it's a great investment. It's one of the richest clubs in the world, and it will continue being so. So I can see why he's looking at it. And him making the post, some people have said he's just maybe just it's a bit of banter. It's a bit of banter. He's putting it out there. And I when I read the last line, and I thought maybe this could be a bit of banter from a United fan. And the reason why I'm saying that is because any serious investor wouldn't slag off the owners. And currently, the Glazers are still 75% owners of United. So if you're buying from the Glazers, the last thing you're going to do is slag them off. Now, it could mean two things. It could mean, number one, he's not actually the one who's buying. So he's not the one who's investing. It's someone not connected to him, but someone that he may know. It could be the Qataris. It could be someone else from the Middle East. And he knows, he's got the know-how, he's got the information from sources that he might be close to, and he's been told that United are on the verge of accepting a new offer from a new investor. That could be a genuine possibility, and we could be looking at a takeover at United, and United behind the scenes could already be sold. Now, some of you might be thinking, what about Jim Ratcliffe? What about Jim Ratcliffe? And why is he... If you remember, there was this talk about Jim Ratcliffe signing into this contract, this proposal where he took over 25% of the club, and then he took over the footballing matters just in United, and the Glazers still dealt with all the commercial things. But there was a day, I think about a month ago, not even maybe less than a month ago, where there was a date in the calendar where in the contract it said that by this date, if Jim Ratcliffe doesn't come out and buy United as a whole and doesn't make an offer to the Glazers then can go and look for an outside investor and sell to whoever they want, and they can force Jim Ratcliffe to sell his shares also, and to go ahead, because he's a minority owner, to sell to whoever is making the best offer. Now, Jim Ratcliffe will have, I think, some kind of first refusal. So even if, say for instance, somebody else in the Middle East comes out and makes an offer for, say, £5 billion for United, okay? So he makes an offer for £5 billion. They'll go back to Jim Ratcliffe and say, either you make an offer for above $5 billion, or you sell your shares along with us to this new investor, and he takes over full ownership of the club. And, well, then it's up to Jim Ratcliffe whether he will then pay that money. Now, we know Jim Ratcliffe wants the club. He wants United and wants to take over. Whether he's got the money, though, is a question mark. Yes, he's got the money in terms of when you look at it on paper, you're like, okay, he's worth billions. But is he willing to put that money down? Not necessarily. We've seen he's been quite stringent with his money. He's quite penny pinching. He's got rid of lots of staff at United. He even got rid of the lunches. We'll discuss that later on, because that is in his interview from yesterday about Ruben Amorim, and how he's cut costs at United, and how he's penny pinched, and how he thinks that's normal, and how not giving free lunches to the players and the staff at Carrington is a good thing. We'll discuss that later on, but let's just move back to this story about this takeover, possible investment. Do we give any credit? How serious should we take this? I think there's something going on in the background. I do. I do think there's something going on in the background. This guy, I don't think he'll put his reputation on the line, shall we say, by making this. The best news. Let's read it again, because I mean, it's the best news I've heard today is Manchester United is in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. Now, the word "to sell" suggests that it's a full sale. I hope he's better than the previous owners. That's the only thing that I don't like. I don't like the last line, I hope he's better than the previous owners, which is a complete straight dig at the Glazers. Anyone who's serious, probably a serious businessman, I don't know, Al Turkish, whatever it is, Turkey, AlalShikh. I don't know him, his background. I don't know whether he's always serious and doesn't really have a comical bone in him. But I've heard that he does do these kind of stunts here and there. He does, kind of throw some fuel into the fire just for the sake of it. But I can't see this. I can't see this being completely baseless. I think he's got something. I think there is some information around. Probably the Glazers are looking at new investors. We know they want to sell United. We know they want to take advantage of, the United right now still being valuable. The question mark is, will it continue being that? I mean, we opened up the show today saying that United will always be a giant of a club. I can't see that changing anytime soon. Yes, if we start having absolute dismal performances on the pitch and we end up finishing the bottom half of the league every other year, and that is a possibility with Ruben Amorim right now, then we could have problems on our hands. Then, I mean, naturally, what will happen generation after generation? There'll be less fans. People will not want to support United, even though you might be trying to convince your little ones to support United, and the younger generation, they'll be like, no, I want to support, the likes of Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool, whichever club's at top. Generally speaking, what you find is when you're at school, all the players, all the youngsters are running around and they're naming out, they want to emulate and be like the best players of that time, like we were like Rooney or Ronaldo and blah. But you get the youngsters of today, and they'll be like wanting to be like Cole Palmer or Mo Salah or something like that. That's what they're saying when they're scoring goals. They'll be like Yamal or something. So they'll end up spotting those teams. They're not going to be saying, let me be like, Zertsky or something. They're not going to, Rasmus Højlund, although he's now gone, but Seshko, whatever it is, unless Seshko starts performing, becomes a top player for United. But you know what I'm saying. So we can't rely on the past glories constantly. There is going to be a time where things will shift, and if we're not doing well on the pitch and we're not there regularly being talked about, the media is going to die down. Right now, United are still big news because of the fan base. The Sky Newses and all the other media outlets, they know that the moment they put out anything to do with United, boom, they get clicks left, right and centre. Everything is focused on United, and it sends their viewership through the roof. That's what happens. That's the United effect. Because of our global fan base, we have got fans all around the world, and any news concerning Man United, everyone wants to know. Not just Man United fans, but even rival fans hate on us, and they want to know anything to do with United. I remember when we were talking about United being overtaken, or there was a takeover with the Qataris, and I remember then there was this complete hoo-ha with rival fans. They were more interested about who was going to take over at United. They were fearful. I remember some friends of mine who were Liverpool fans, and they were like, this is unfair, Qatar taking over United, and they were panicking. They were panicking, thinking, shit, United are going to be back up again. As soon as Qatar take over, they're going to fund everything to do with United. They're going to obviously make a new stadium, whatever, new training facilities, and sign whoever they want to. And we were clickbaiting them, saying, we're gonna go and sign Mbappe when he was possibly leaving PSG. And that's the difference a top, big, rich owner can make. And the rival fans are all really interested in what's going on at United. And they, of course, don't want United to come out of this rut. They want United to stay exactly where they are, in this deep, dark hole. And they don't want no ownership coming. They love the Glazers. I mean, you just need to speak. You go and speak to any rival fan, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, whoever. And one thing they'll say is, we love the Glazers. We love the Glazers because they know exactly what the Glazers have done. They know exactly that the Glazers came in when United were the biggest club in the world. They were way ahead of the Man Cities and Chelseas and Liverpools. They had such a head start, and all they needed to do was just maintain that. All they needed to do was maintain that head start and keep that gap. But not only did they lose that gap, they've actually fallen behind clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea and City when it comes to clout and money. We are fast falling behind. Yes, we still make lots of money and we still have huge amounts of revenue, but sooner or later that may start dwindling down. So yes, we need investment, and yes, the Glazers probably looking at it thinking this might be the perfect opportunity to jump ship. I'm hoping anyway, because I cannot stand the Glazers. I think it's the worst thing ever to happen to this club. It was criminal. It was criminal to allow the Glazers to come in and buy Man United. I can't believe that there was nobody around at the time to say, no, you can't do this. You can't come in and take over the jewel in the crown in the Premier League. Right? Not even in the Premier League, world football. This is not on. And I've said it many times. I know exactly why Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill and all the rest left, because they could see the writing on the wall. They could see that the Glazers were not interested in making this a footballing club. All they wanted really was to come in and just suck the club dry, and to just put all that debt on the club and everything else. United still, financially, when it comes to debt, United is still up there as one of the biggest clubs in debt. I mean, it's probably top of the list in terms of debt. So we've got issues there. We do need investors. I'm hoping that whoever comes in is not like Jim Ratcliffe. And I know there's some of you who actually like Jim Ratcliffe, and some of the things he's done, I'm not going to say I completely disregard. I think some of the things Jim Ratcliffe's come in and done, I like. I do. So I'm not going to say he's completely bad, but there are things that worry me about Jim Ratcliffe. And let's move on to that. Okay, so that is the story about the takeover, possible sale. Could there be a sale behind the scenes and we're not sure about? Maybe. We'll find out in the coming weeks or months. So let's put that to a side. Hopefully we'll bring you some further development news on that. If anything happens, anything we hear, we can bring it to you. But let's move on to the next stage of today's show, which was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the current owner of United, the 25% owner, and the guy who's running everything when it comes to football inside side of things. So he's doing everything in terms of the players, the manager, and the staff that are running United, really. United. I mean, the Glazers are running the commercial side of things, which is more or less, there's not much of that. They're just essentially chilling. The Glazers are chilling because what they've got is they've got a worker right now. They've got Jim Ratcliffe who's working for them, and they've essentially appointed Jim Ratcliffe and said, right, we'll give you 25% of the club, but you do everything for us. Everything. You do all the running around, you take the flak, and we're going to be off the scene. We're going to be completely hidden from the public scene, like they like it. I mean, and then they're gonna get all the money though. They're going to get all the benefit. If United do well, the Glazers pocket more money. If United don't do well, the Glazers don't really get affected in terms of public image and reputation, but they do when it comes to finances as well. So it might concern them. Anyway, so Jim Ratcliffe took over United, and we were all kind of hesitant. There were some people who were genuinely saying, oh, we like Jim Ratcliffe. We didn't want Qatar to take over. We didn't want Sheikh Yassim, who was representing the Qatari government, and they didn't want a sovereign fund to take over at United. So they rather have Jim Ratcliffe, who's come in, and we know that he's not really put huge amounts of money into United. He's not cleared any debts. He's not really done what was being promised by Sheikh Yassim, but he has put some investment into United. I think it's about 150 mil to 250, around about that figure he's put in to sort a few things out. Obviously they've done Carrington up, but has he transformed United as a club? Not really. Has he brought in some crazy players, where they make a difference to us? No, but they've bought in some decent players. This summer, I have to admit, the players that they've bought in, I'm happy with. I'm happy with the fact that they've gone out there and bought Šeško. They've gone out there, bought Kuna and Mbumo, two Premier League proven players, and they've made a difference. You have to accept that they've come in and they've made a difference to this United team. They look like that they going forward, they could really take over at United and score some, give us goals, because we were missing goals. One thing where we did lack is the midfield, and we never really sorted that out, and we might be paying for that now. So anyway, yesterday Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out and gave an interview to the Times newspaper, I believe it was, and he said a few things that ruffled a few feathers, shall we say. I mean, there was lots of journalists, lots of Man United fans who were not happy, but some Man United fans who were happy with what Jim Ratcliffe had to say. And the main story of the interview was, or the main line was, that he believes that Ruben Amorim should be given 3 years to prove himself. So I presume that's the first year that he's already had, or more or less is coming up to a year, and then he's going to have 2 more years left to prove himself as a United manager. So no matter what happens end of this season, even if we finished 15th or say 11th, he'll see that as it's progression, and he'd see that as a positive. That's what I'm hearing from Jim Ratcliffe. That's what he's saying. He's saying he needs to slowly improve the team. And he gave the example of Mikel Arteta. And he said, oh, well, look what he did. He came into Arsenal and he had a couple of seasons where he finished 8th and then somewhere again 8th or 9th or something. And then he slowly moved Arsenal up. And now this year they look like a club that could be challenging for the Premier League. So that's his direct comparison. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if that is a good comparison. I'm not. I let me know in the comments below what you think about Jim Ratcliffe and his thoughts about just the way Ruben Amorim is dealing with the team right now, the way Ruben Amorim is handling his criticism, and the way Ruben Amorim's setting up his team. But clearly Jim Ratcliffe's happy with him. Clearly, Jim Ratcliffe has sat down with Ruben Amorim. There was he did have talks with Ruben Amorim a few weeks ago. We know that he did, and he must have told him, because we saw Ruben Amorim's attitude change immediately after. He was very confident. He came into the press conferences very cheerful, knowing full well that he's got the full backing of the owner. And I'm right in the middle on this one, because I look at him and think, yeah, I guess you have to back your manager. I wouldn't have liked to see Ruben Amorim not backed. However, his current win rate is not good enough, and everyone has to accept that. And surely you've got to put some kind of criteria, requirements for even Ruben Amorim to say, right, okay, look, this is the bare minimum you need to reach. This is the bare minimum you need to do to stay in the job. It's not, oh, you've got a fixed contract for 3 years and you're going to stay for 3 years. I don't think anyone does that. Nobody does that. Yes, it's a long-term project, and yes, I want the manager to be given time. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe alludes to the fact that the past managers at United haven't been given time, but that's completely false. Every single manager that we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson has had at least 2 years in the job. Every single manager, we're talking about Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, every single manager that has come in on a permanent basis. Of course, there's a few in there that weren't given more than 2 years, and they were like Ragnick, Van Nistelrooy. But what I'm saying is that ones who've come in as permanent managers have been given time to succeed, and they simply haven't. Whereas Jim Ratcliffe is saying, well, this is me and I'm going to be different to what everyone else has been doing in the past. But everyone else in the past have been given the manager's time at United. In fact, United are one club that do give every manager time. And it doesn't necessarily work. It doesn't necessarily work. I do want Ruben Amorim to succeed. I've said it many times. Don't think that I'm sat here thinking, oh, I want Ruben Amorim to fail, I want United to fail, because I think the core of any Man United fan does want United to succeed. You can't be a fan and not want your club to win. No matter who is the manager or the owner. Now, look, I despise the Glazers. I really do. But do I want to see United fail as a club, even though they're the owners? No, I don't. I still want United to win. Even though I know indirectly it'll benefit the Glazers. And I want the Glazers out. But I still want United to win. I still want to watch them play amazing football. And as all United fans, I've not met any United fan, or not many, who say, look, we want United to lose just because we want the Glazers out. No, we all see the Glazers as a completely separate entity to our club. So United is a complete separate entity to anybody. So it's a separate entity to the players, and it's to the manager and to the owners, because we all know the club is ever present. It will always continue, whether the players come and go, whether managers come and go, whether owners come and go. We will always have our club. So we hedge our bets on our club and we protect it like it's our own. And that's what fans should be doing. So for me, it makes no sense when I hear fans saying, oh, I want United to lose. I want them to completely get relegated so we can get rid of such and such a person and we can get rid of the Glazers. That's not going to really happen. The Glazers, if they wanted to sell, they would have sold a long time ago. They know that this is a cash cow. United is the golden goose that keeps on laying the golden egg. No matter what happens, this goose, no matter what it's been put through, is still laying the golden egg. And the Glazers are just sat there waiting, rubbing their hands. Brilliant. We're taking the golden egg. Off we go into the sunset. And we as fans need to accept that the Glazers, until they're not pushed out or something else, like the Jim Ratcliffe doesn't take over completely, they're not going to go anywhere. And this is where I come back to Jim Ratcliffe, and he said the comments about Amorim, and that all fair. Look, I'm neither here or there. I do want Ruben Amorim to be given more time. I do think that if he starts changing up his formation and starts doing things differently, I think he will get success. I think we have got a decent bunch of players. The players that he's brought in, the players that he's got already at the club, I think we can really make a success of the team. And it's clear that the players haven't down tools like they did with other managers. They're clearly backing him. They want him to stay. They've all come out and said that in public, whether it was Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes. They all want Amorim to stay. And that makes a big difference, in my opinion. I think if you've got the players on side, that is where you will succeed. If you lose the dressing room, that's it. It's over. No matter what happens, no matter what the owner says, no matter what Jim Ratcliffe is going to say, if you lose the dressing room, it's over. And so it's really important that the players did come out and back him. And that shows that Ruben Amorim can turn things around as long as he rejigs this formation that he plays with the current players and the wing backs. He can't really succeed with this formation. But anyway, that's for another show completely. The other thing that Jim Ratcliffe said, which really didn't please me, I don't know about other fans out there, but he again backed Glazers, saying how nice they are. Oh, the fans have got it completely wrong. You fans are completely clueless. And the Glazers are lovely people, and they're a lovely family, and they've got the best interests of United at heart. What is all that about? As soon as he said that, I was like, right, you've lost me there. You've lost me there. I mean, everything was fine up until that point. And then as soon as you start licking arse and you start licking the Glazers' arse again, it's over, mate. That's it. I switch off because, and then I realised you can't really be a Man United fan, can you? You can't. How can you say such things? And look, the only thing that calms me down, I think, maybe he's playing the game. Maybe he knows that, look, he can't come out and say the Glazers are arseholes, can he? He can't say that. If he's going up to the Glazers and saying, I want you to sell me United, I want you to sell me the 75% that you've got, he's not going to get anywhere by saying you're a bunch of idiots, is he? He's going to have to kiss ass, isn't he? He's going to have to say, yeah, you're the best thing since sliced bread, you Glazers, and you've done a brilliant job. And look, I've publicly come out and said that you're doing a fantastic job at United. but sell me the club, please. Just sell me the rest of United. And that might be going on behind the scenes. That might be the case. Oh, who knows? Who knows? It might be Jim Ratcliffe who's brought in another investor who's going to help him buy the rest of United. I mean, that would have been ideal. That would have, in an ideal world, I would have loved someone like Jim Ratcliffe to go off to Qatar, go off to sit down with Sheikh Yassim and say, or whoever else, and say, right, you've got the money. I know exactly how to run this club, or I feel like I know how to run the club. So let's join forces and go over and get rid of the Glazers. Because we're United fans. They're not United fans. They're ruining this club. Let's go and take over the entirety of the club. The problem I have with Jim Ratcliffe, he's saying all these things. He's doing all these things, cutting costs and, saying he's backing Ruben Amorim. But the reality is that he's not doing the biggest thing that we thought he would, which is to take over United fully. Why is he accepting only 25% of the club? Why is he still sat there doing all this hard work for what? And let's be honest, he's not a young guy. He is 1 foot in the grave right now. Yeah, I hate saying it, but he's not a young fella. He could go out there and you don't know how long he's got left. So with him, he needs instant success. He needs to turn things around. He can't rely on doing all this work and allowing the Glazers to benefit from it and him not getting anything. For me, that's the biggest issue as well. I'm not a big fan of the Glazers. I just think they need to be gone. They need to be gone because since they entered the frame at United, everything went downhill. Everything. And there's lots of fans who blame the managers and the players and this and that, but I believe, 100%, that the whole the way the club is set up, the way it's ran, the way the owners dictate everything is then what feeds out onto the pitch as well. So the players, when they know that the owner's not going to accept this, they know that they're at risk. And same thing with the manager. If the manager knows, right, okay, the owners are not going to take this kind of rubbish. If my win rate is down in the 25% percentile, the owners are not going to take this. The owners will be on my back and they'll probably sack me. But I think, look, coming back to this, I was thinking a bit deeper about this, thinking, okay, so what's Jim Ratcliffe saying about this 3 years? When he comes out and says, I back my manager for 3 years, does it necessarily mean that he's never going to sack him, even if, say, for instance, we're in the relegation zone this season? Of course that doesn't mean anything. So him saying whatever he wants to say to the media right now makes no difference to Ruben Amorim and his future, unless Ruben Amorim starts performing. If he's not performing, of course, things can change. Jim Ratcliffe might have to face facts and say, right, I need to get rid of this guy. But then I think he's coming out publicly saying I'm backing the manager, but behind the scene I think he knows that, look, I'm going to give him, I've said 3 years, but that could change. If he's going to come out and say I don't really back this manager and maybe we might change in the future, what do you think? What message does that send to the players at the club? They're going to think, yeah, brilliant. Okay, again, another one bites the dust. Another manager that we've managed to get rid of. Not that I believe that the players start off thinking that. I don't think players at the club think, right, here comes Ruben Amorim and we don't like him, we're going to get rid of him. I think over time, when the players look at this manager, look at any manager, and they kind of don't like the way he's making them work, or putting them in a different formation like he's doing right now, or making them do things that they're not used to. I think that's when certain players who know that they've got the power and they know that they've got a direct line to the owners, that they can then start pushing their weight around and start saying things about the manager behind the scenes to the owners, to the CEO. And if there's no structure in place, they can quite easily say to the owner, oh, we're not really fond of this manager. He's not doing this right and he's not doing that right. And we want him out. And then the owner, if it's someone who, like say for the Glazers, who don't have a clue what's going on, they might refer that to the CEO at the time, it was Arnold, whoever, and then they might say to them, oh, do you know what? Do you think we should get rid of the manager? Because the players are saying, all the top players, all the big the leaders at the club are saying that they don't like the manager, so we need to get rid of him. But I think this might be sending a message to the players. Ratcliffe, it might be sending a message to the players saying, you're not going to get it your way this time. This time, he's not going anywhere. The manager's not going anywhere. So you better sort your shit out. You better start working for this manager, or nothing's going to change. You're the one that's going to end up losing. And maybe that's what he's saying. Who knows? Drop your comments below on what you think. What he could be saying in this interview that he's given about United and Amorim. But we got some other breaking news. We got some other breaking news late last night, and it wasn't the bombshell of the takeover, but it was on a new chief operating officer. Yes, this was meant to be the big news of today. This was meant to be the big news that we've got a new Chief Operating Officer, COO. He's called Amish Manek, Director of Football Operations at Old Trafford, and he's coming from Brentford. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know nothing. I know nothing about this guy. I'm sure there's many of you who don't know nothing about this guy because he's come out of nowhere, for me anyway. I mean, he's someone who, I looked into him quite in detail last night. I read up on who he is, where he's come from, and he's highly regarded. So he is well thought out. He's not someone from the footballing world. He's coming from retailing world. I know that sounds kind of weird. So he's coming from a retailing background, but the guy seems to know how to get people together and get people working. So who knows? Is he best in class? I mean, we'll only find out. I mean, he was at Brentford. He's done well there. I think he was also at Arsenal. So he's got a track record of working for these clubs or working in football. So he's not just simply coming in from, I don't know, Argos or something and just straight into Man United. He's not literally coming from retail. He's not a retail manager walking into United and saying, right, okay, I'm here as a chief operating officer. No, it's the Glazers thankfully are not still running the show right now. Okay, so this is not the Glazer era. This would have probably happened under the Glazers, where they get Woodward out of accounts and finance department and say, we like you, fella, we like you, come over here and take over at Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and go out there and spend our money, or spend the club's money, not our money. Never their money. How dare we suggest such a thing? But anyway, this guy, hopefully he's coming in. Manek will effectively run United's Carrington training ground, the base for the daily football operation, with responsibility for travel, security, training facilities, and staff management and infrastructure. That doesn't sound like an important role to me. I mean, what responsibility for travel, security, training, facilities, and staff management and infrastructure? So he's going to be like a PR manager. That's what I'm looking at it as. So look, he's the director of football operations at Old Trafford, whatever that means to you guys. But look, we do need a structure in place, and I'm glad that Ineos have come in and put a structure in place, and we know that there are people who know how to run football clubs in the right positions. Because under the Glazers, we all know we had an absolute shit show. We had an absolute shit show because we had all sorts of people coming into United and being given a job. I mean, you could literally walk off the street and say, I can run Man United. I can be head of recruitment. I've played on Football Manager for about 5 years. I can do that job. You're hired. You're hired as well. You're hired. What you can do what? You know everything about how stadiums are run, right? Okay, you've got the job as well. You want to be the CEO? You've got the job as well. The Glazers never really give a shit, right? They're happy sat over across the Atlantic, sat in the US, just counting their money. They really don't care about United and what's going on the pitch, and they never have. Hence why they've been very happy for Ineos to come in and just take over the footballing side of things. They're like, yeah, you do that. Thank you very much. Take all the footballing matters off our hands. Just leave us the finances. Just give us the money and we're fine with that. Okay, you deal with everything else. And I feel like Jim Ratcliffe they've left him out to dry, because he's not gonna win any fans over by being the face of United and then coming out and saying the Glazers are lovely people, the Glazers are really nice, and they're a really nice family, and they've done lots for United. I mean, where have you been for the past 10 years plus? You know, what United have you been watching? You know, they inherited a club that was at the helm of everything football, really. It was the best club. It was a giant of a club. There was no one anywhere near us at the time. As a club, we were just at top of the pile. And, well, under the Glazers, we've just completely fallen off. And now we're still competing. I'm not going to say we're not competing, but not on the pitch. Financially, we're still competing. But that's all to do with the fan base itself, because of the hard work that was done many, many years ago before the Glazers arrived and did this hostile takeover. But anyway, coming back to the main story of today, I'm sure lots of you have clicked on the thumbnail excited like I was this morning. I woke up and I couldn't wait to do a show, and I thought, right, I'm going to go straight live with this one, because this is big and I can't fit it into a 10-minute show. This has to be a little bit longer. Look, I wanted to kind of let everyone else kind of jump in, see what they wanted to say as well about this big news, or possible big news about a possible investor coming in and taking over at United, a new investor. And this news, coming back to it, let's go back to this Sheikh Al-Turki. Now, look, some people have said, he is... He's maybe pulling just a stunt here, maybe just to increase his followers, but the guy doesn't need any more followers. He's got millions of followers. He is world renowned. Everyone knows him in the world of boxing. Everybody knows this guy, and in other sports. But we are being told, I know for a fact, that the Saudis are looking to invest in other sporting ventures. They already own Newcastle, or they have some input to that as well. They have other sporting ventures. I told you at the start of the show, they've invested 50+ billion pounds in EA Sports, a gaming manufacturer, or whatever a gaming manufacturer, isn't it? That produces all the games out there, sporting games, and that's crazy amount of money compared to even United's valuation. And on the best day, it would be valued at 7-8 billion. I mean, that is the Glazers' valuation, but on the market valuation, we're looking at around about 4 to 5 billion, which is more realistic if you're looking at an investor coming in. But I think if the Glazers are to sell up to anyone new, they're going to want something in the region of about 6 to 7 billion pounds to let go of United, this cash cow, and they will waltz off into the distance, walking away with the money that they make off United. Because realistically, if you're paying 8 billion pounds or 7 billion pounds, whatever it is around that mark for United, you're not really going to get that money back. Football clubs are not a great investment per se. You can't say that, all these people who are invested in football clubs are making lots of money back. Not necessarily, unless you're the Glazers, who decide, right, we're not going to put any of our money in, but we're going to take dividends out of United and let United screw up. Who gives a shit? We don't care about United. And that's what their business model was. They came in saying, we're going to come in, we're going to take over at United, we're not going to spend a single penny of our money, we're going to loan the money to even buy United. So we're going to go on mortgage, essentially, get the loans to buy United, and then we're going to do this brilliant thing. We're going to then put that loan, the mortgage, onto the United books. So United have to pay the interest, not us personally. Ridiculous, isn't it? But they got away with it, and this is it. This is where we're at right now. Now we're hoping that someone comes in with plenty of money and takes over. The only benefit I've got now reading this, I'm thinking, look, this guy is not a Sheikh Yassim, and a Sheikh Yassim was a ghost, essentially. We didn't know whether he existed. We still really don't know much about Sheikh Yassim, whereas this guy is a public figurehead. We see him every time there's a big boxing match, a fight. He's always there. And for him to come out and say such a thing, I don't think he would have said it just off the cuff. I think there's if there's smoke, there's a fire somewhere, right? Okay, so yeah, drop your comments below, guys. Let me know what you think about this news. Do you think that this could be a potential takeover, or do you think it's just made up? There are some fans, I'm not going to lie to you, there are some fans I've spoke to, some fans of boxing and Man United who've come out and said, this guy does pull a few stunts like this. He's done it in the past where he comes out with crazy comments, but then he kind of doesn't really back it up. But this comment here, let me just bring it up on the screen again so we can read it together again. The best news I heard today, and this was last night, as you can see, 10:24 last night, when most of us are getting ready for bed. Not me, I was still awake. But the best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, you think, oh, please, let it be true. Let it be true. Please, please, let it be true. Let us see the back of the Glazers. Do you know what? There's many owners. Do you know, even Jim Ratcliffe, I'd take over the Glazers. I'd take anybody over the Glazers because they don't care about United. They don't care about the club. They don't give a shit about the club. They've never look at them. They've never turned up to anything. They've never come out and said anything to the fans. Whenever we've kicked off and protest, they don't care. They just sit there and they just kind of hide away. They hide away, and that's why I think you know the story about how Jim Ratcliffe came in, and when he came in, he said, what did he say? He said, United were on the brink they were on their knees. United was on their knees. Financially, were on their knees. They had about another month before the Glazers would end up forfeiting the debt and all that. And there's something going on behind the scenes where they were in financial difficulty and the Glazers wanted out. They wanted out desperately. They were looking for somebody else to come in and invest in United. And they were there for the taking. That's the problem. United was there for the taking, and anyone could have waltzed in and took United over. Anyone with half a budget, right? And in comes Jim Ratcliffe, the saviour, the Man United fan, and he's come in, and rather than seeing that and thinking, right, okay, I'm gonna. This is a distressed seller. These guys are distressed. They need to sell, and they need to sell quick. You don't go and give them what they want if they're a distressed seller. Imagine if you're going to buy a house and the seller wants out because he's off abroad or something and he needs to sell up and he can't afford to pay the mortgage and pay a mortgage on the other property as well, and he needs to sell up really quickly. So he says, right, I need to get rid. I can't afford this anymore. So give me your best price. And you say, I tell you what, how about this? I'll pay your mortgage, but you can still be the owner of the property. And the seller's thinking, wait up, is this right? Okay, so you just want a part of it? You want to just rent out one room? You want to rent out one room of the property, but pay the mortgage for me as well? Yeah, we'll do that. All right then. That's essentially what Jim Ratcliffe's done. He's come in and said, I'll rescue you out of this situation. You're in up shit's creek right now. You need the money. I'm going to put the money in and put United back on a level playing field when it comes to PSR and things like that. And I tell you what, rather than telling you to take a pay cut and stop the dividends and invest some money into the club, what I'll do is I'll come in and take lunches away from the players and the staff and start cutting jobs in and around United. Get rid of staff that have been there for 20 years plus. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but for me, I think that's a huge mistake. Huge mistake, because a club like United, everyone's loyal to the club, not the owners, not the players, and you don't want to get rid of them kind of people around the club. You don't want mercenaries to step in, coming in just to get paid and do a crap job. You want people there who are United fans, number one, and they want to see United succeed at all costs. And then they'll give more to the club. So imagine the people that he sacked, Jim Ratcliffe sacked, even though he came out yesterday in his interview saying, look, no one gave me a free lunch and therefore no one else deserves a free lunch. But, you know, these people have been working for the club for some time and, you know, they deserve something, surely. And if you go across the world of football, what do you think City are doing? What do you think Chelsea and all the clubs in Barcelona? They've got facilities and things available for the players and the staff that are way beyond what United have been given. So make what you will of United and what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's doing. I think some of the things the stunts that he's pulled since he's been the owner at United have been massively negative, hugely, and I think that's something that maybe end up haunting him later on as the owner of United. Maybe if and when he goes and makes the bold move of trying to buy United fully from the Glazers. For me, that's the biggest problem right now. He can do all the talking he wants to about Ruben Amorim and about the club and where it's going and the project and the stadium and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But until you don't own the club, you're just talking out of your ass, my friend. You are just talking out of your backside. You cannot, if you really want to show the fans what you're made of, go turn up to the table and buy out the Glazers. That's what I say. Forget everything else. We don't want a new stadium. We don't want anything else. Go out and buy out the Glazers. Once you've done that, then come back to us, and then as United fans, we'll take you seriously. Then we will say, shit, this guy is the real deal. This guy is the real guy who really wants to succeed at United. Right now, he's trying to call the shots when he's really not in charge. He's just waffling. He's just waffling about, Ruben Amorim, I'm going to give him 3 years, and the press are completely out of touch with what's going on. I don't disagree with him trying to give the manager more time, and I believe myself. Look, if Ruben Amorim shows that he's more flexible and he can start changing things around, and then hopefully we start seeing United win and United playing better football, then of course you'd be absolutely stupid to say, I want the manager to go, and I want to start all afresh again. No, I don't want that. But does it worry me as a United fan when I look at the stats of Ruben Amorim? Of course it does. And if it doesn't worry any fan out there, then they're not living in reality. They're not looking at the facts. And the facts are, right now, under Ruben Amorim, United haven't drastically improved, but let's give him the benefit of doubt. That's what I'm saying. When we lost against Grimsby, I was upset, and then we lost again against Man City, and it was, it was dreadful. And I was like, right, we need to get rid of Ruben Amorim, especially when he came out post-match saying, I'm not changing anything. I'm going to keep the team and the formation exactly as it is, as we had it out there today, and we lost 3-0. And I was thinking, no one does that. Nobody does that. Nobody says, I've just gone and made a huge mistake, but guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and make the same mistake again, and I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change anything. And that's not what you want to hear. And I'm hoping behind the scene, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Omar Brada and whatever, Jason Wilcox, have sat him down and said, you need to sort your shit out. You can't come out and say you're going to stick with the same formation and same tactics that got us beat 3-0 against a City team that, now they're in form, but at the time they were not. They were there for the taking. We could have put up a better fight. It shouldn't have been a 3-0 defeat. But look, that is essentially my take on it. Drop your comments below on what you think about this takeover. What do you think about Jim Ratcliffe? What do you think about Ruben Amorim being given 3 years? I will try and do another show on this separately about Ruben Amorim and his future at United, because it does deserve another show. And Jim Ratcliffe, if this news is true about a new investor coming in and wanting to take over United fully, it's going to definitely put the cat amongst the pigeons, and I'm hoping that it might trigger some kind of full takeover and the Glazers leaving. That is it for today's show, guys. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. Make sure you subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and more from this every single daily dose. Okay, see you later, guys. Goodbye.